welcome you two. I'd like to introduce to you, to everybody, my good friends Jack Coleman and Mica Garcia Baab. And first of all, congratulations on your recent nuptials. That's a
Thank
big
you so
Thank you.
much. Look at there.
Wow, nice. And your honeymoon, you ran off to Iceland?
We did.
Yeah, highly recommend. It was incredible.
Yeah.
So much fun.
Wasn't there a world championship there half a dozen years ago?
2017, I think. Yeah, 2017 was there. Year before I made my world champ debut. I didn't go to I was barely throwing in 2017.
Right.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, your backgrounds are quite a bit different on getting into the Highland Games. Mica, you've got like a lineage. I mean,
Yeah.
you've got like a name to live up to and stuff, you know?
No pressure.
Right? None at all. So for people that don't know, your dad is
Mike Babb. So my dad, two-time world champion. He got into the games after he retired from playing football because he needed something to do. And my granny didn't give him much of a choice. She made him his first kilt. So his first game was Arlington, which, fun fact, was also Jack's first game, like 2 decades later.
Yep.
And then he has run games all over Texas, including Austin, for like 25 years now. So yeah.
and that's the kind of game you guys have just sort of naturally progressed into almost taking over, maybe almost.
It's taken over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's taken over.
Yeah. Worlds did it. I think
You officially
Yeah.
handed it off, huh?
I think Worlds was the transfer. She was basically running it. He was there obviously and involved, but like a lot of the
Yeah.
back get it done stuff, I think she was kind of running. And then
Yeah.
when Austin took Masters Worlds in 2021, Mike was throwing in it and Michaela's like, I got this. So
Yeah.
and it's been she did so well with it. He's like, you got this.
Right. Nice. And so Jackie, what was your background? You talked about 17 being your first year.
I was a shot putter in high school and then going into college. I didn't get to throw much in college. Our track program got canceled, Title IX back in the day, but wasn't the end of the world. I played football and I'd always loved throwing a shot. I wasn't a big fan of throwing the discus, so I wasn't that good at it, but I did it. So shot and discus guy, and then nothing for a very long time. I played a lot of softball. Went to a couple world championships, in the softball world. But I always tried to stay fairly athletic. But then my buddy Jeremy Barron, another one of our Silverback buddies, we were working in the oil field together. We were partners around a crane and staying in an RV out on a well. And he looked up one day and said, "Hey, what do you know about the Highland Games?" And I said, "Absolutely nothing." And he said, "Well, you should throw shot put." So 2 of the events are like shot put. Let's give it a shot. And he showed me some videos, some like 95% of the people that getting into it these days, some Matt Vincent videos, and here we go. And we started throwing rocks out in West Texas and on a pad. And Jeremy's pretty creative. He made a bunch of weights and started melting lead. And next thing you know, we were giving it a shot.
It seems track and field translates very well to Highland Games.
Yeah, I think a lot of people who aren't track people can still be very successful, with some hard work and some dedication. But track people just have so many reps. You're just thousands of reps ahead of everybody that translate to a lot of those positions. But I mean, everybody, people catch up. And the other thing about it is, we had a lot of reps throwing shot put, but I didn't know what weight for distance was, and I still can't throw a hammer. So
I don't know if my microphone's picking it up, but my lab decided to have a big old drink of water during all that. So that'll be interesting to hear on the video. So training and advising and learning. You talked about the Silverbacks. You've created your own faction out there in Austin, and it's become quite the group.
It's huge.
Yeah, we so I tell Michaela and just about anybody that'll listen is one of the reasons why I practice so much is because I'm probably one of the laziest people if I don't set an appointment and have to meet people at a thing, then, like a lot of people, I'll just come up with a reason not to do it. And before you realize it, you're a month in away and you haven't done anything. So, so the Silverbacks in North Texas that I started throwing with, you guys gave me, and Jeremy, because we didn't have anything to do, and when we were on the well, I didn't have any reason not to throw, and I had appointments to go make. And then when I moved to Austin, Michaela was down here, and she showed me like where her dad threw, and we had a few friends that were down here who were throwers, and we tried to make a little something happen up north, and that didn't work. And I was meeting other people, and finally just decided, I just told her, I was like, hey, why don't we just do this? Why don't you tell the people and we'll just show up at a spot every Saturday, rain or shine, we're going to be there. And kind of, if we build it, then they will come. And we did. And now we're probably 30 people strong.
If not
I'd
more.
say every practice it has
At least 20.
Yeah, a normal practice full season, we're gonna have 15 to 20 people there. Yeah. And then 10 in kind of the off season,
Yeah.
5.
You guys, you publicize that on Facebook, Instagram.
Facebook. There's a Facebook group where we'll typically post if we are not going to be at practice, but other people usually come and bring their implements. And the really cool thing about the group, I think, is that when we formed it, we had a couple friends in the area, particularly some of the A women that I throw with, that were established throwers who came to the group to practice. But I would say 90% of the group are within the last 2 to 3 years to throwing, and are super dedicated every single weekend. So many of the throwers we see in Texas are from our group in the last couple of years. So it's been really cool to see that many new throwers come through.
And you guys are kind of natural teachers. I don't know naturally, but that both of your backgrounds are kind of in that. I mean, Jack, you kind of just do it what seems naturally. But Mica, I mean, you're a trainer by trade, right?
Yes. Yeah. So I've been a personal trainer and strength and conditioning coach for almost 10 years. And I, not so much a throwing background, but it was something that I kind of learned and have worked with a lot of different sports in general. So you just kind of have to learn what the new one is. And then I currently coach a big chunk of our Texas Women's Masters athletes in the gym side. And then Jack takes over with throwing and I take over with hammers.
Yeah. I was an education major in college, so I went to college to be a coach. So that's where it's really natural for me. I just
can see it. Yeah.
And I have I tell a lot of the folks this. I think I have a really good grasp on helping new people turn into pretty good throwers. Once we get to I only have about a 6-year Highland Games background, so I'm honest with folks. We've had some really good throwers come through our group: Jesse Bethke, Chase Esmiel, Christian McClellan, some really, really good throwers. On the women's side, Kim, Emily, we have some really good throwers come throw with us. And I don't pretend to be able to take those people to the next level. You know what I mean? I take the newbies and do everything I can to have them successful and good and have something they can work on and turn them into pretty good throwers. And by newbies, I don't mean just new people, but I mean, once we have people that turn into A class and looking to go pro, I usually push them in the direction of some of the local pros or even non-local pros who do some online stuff.
I mean, there's not a thrower out there that has only had one teacher,
Right.
No.
I mean, we're a blend of so many things that just happen to click in our minds and go, I can do that,
Yeah.
Anybody who has learned from me has heard me say, I didn't invent any of this. Somebody had to show me. I take cues that I got from a couple days where I've gone down and trained specifically with Spencer. I take cues that I got from Heather McDonald. Heather McDonald lives down here with us now, and she's got some great little cues. And when I throw on the West Coast or on the East Coast, I tell people, I threw in 1 games with the Miller brothers, and I felt like it was like a month-long clinic.
A master class.
Yeah, it was literally like a 1-day long master class where I just took all of these nuggets because they're just really good dudes and incredible throwers, but also coaches by trade. So they're really good at those little breakdown nuggets of, hey, here's this one little, you're close, but focus on this kind of things. That it's just people just need to find that cue. Everybody's athletes and they're close. It's just a matter of finding what rings the bell for them in the
Mhm.
individual.
Right. How much do you get off into the weight training part of it, as far as teaching and training and all that?
Yeah, so I mean, I do have several throwers that I fully coach, full time. I write all their programming, we schedule their season out, we handle all their training, and it's 100% hands-on. For other people, I'll usually give them some amount of guidance, like, okay, you're struggling with stones. Might I suggest you do landmines until you're so tired of them you can't see straight? But little things like that, where like, this is the event you're struggling with, so I highly recommend that you add this into your routine, or I'm happy to give advice on like, adding things to your routine. So yeah, it just kind of depends. I mean, I have the full 100% athlete all the way to hey, like, why aren't you doing this? You need to
Right.
do this. Or, little like game day nutrition has been a big thing that I've worked with a lot of people on, because a lot of us either eat the wrong thing or don't eat at all. And so working on, this one,
Right.
game day nutrition is a big one too.
I am admittedly a terrible client
Mhm.
for her. Like I am, I had a college throwing, high school, college throwing, and football background where I just had somebody tell me what to do in the gym. I lift like an ex-football player. She says that all the time. I
Mhm.
don't I don't know. When people ask me all the time, like, what do you do to be strong? I push things. I don't know. Ask somebody. She tells me what to do, and I just push stuff, and I pull it sometimes too. I don't know. That's what I do. So I let her program it, and it's the same way with eating. She changed a ton of my performance. Once we got together, because I just go to a game and I don't really. It's hard to remember to eat, or how much to eat, or macros, or what you should have, or people are like, oh, eat beef jerky, except you need carbs while you're performing, and just all of the technical stuff that a nutritionist knows that I don't have a clue. So
They say the interest in this sport is cyclical, and it comes in waves. But I really feel like, um, as of the most recent years, it's really gotten more dedicated and more technical, and people are
Yeah.
taking it a lot more seriously. The days of lugging your six pack around and having several beers in between every throw and smoking your cigar, they're far and few between right now.
Yeah. And I think too, like, you always get the newbies that come in and out. And, even when we started our practice group a couple of years ago, we would have someone who came to one practice and then never again, or they'd come to two and then never again. And now we see, new people all the time who show up one day and then they're there the next week, and then the next, and then the next, and then the next. And it's just, I think, the level of commitment. And I think part of that is due to like crossover from other sports, specifically strongman. There's been a massive amount of crossover between Highland Games and strongman, and the communities kind of overlapping and supporting each other. And so you get people who are already committed athletes trying something new.
yeah, I was want to piggyback on that. That's exactly what I was going to say. Is I think it's kind of how you find out about it, right? Like I
Right.
found out about it from Jeremy, because we were just on a well together, right? And who knows if we found about it on online or whatever. And other guys just know a guy, or their parents are Scottish, so they're like, go try it out. But then once you're in it, you meet somebody in the gym who asks you, well, they're in the gym, so they're already doing a little bit of it, right? Or you get a CrossFitter or a strongman person, and it kind of narrows that focus. As the more people who focus on fitness join the sport, they recruit more people who focus on fitness to join the sport, and it's just sort of it's taken off. Like it's been exponential growth, especially with
Right.
really dedicated people.
And for some reason, I think it's the master's class that has the most growth.
Men's
You know,
and women's. It's nuts.
right.
The first classes that I have to close every year, and very quickly.
I
Wow.
think I don't know. I mean, I don't know exactly why, but I think part of it is, you know, um, I mean, just honestly, I think the prevalence of people getting in shape, and like TRT for guys that are over 40 and things like that, where it used to be you get over 40 and you're like, I'm gonna get into like barbecue and meats or whatever, sitting at the house. I still love
Right.
to
Right.
love stuff. But once you can still go to the gym, and you're like, I'm not, it's not over with. I'm not done here, right? There's we see professional athletes that are still playing at 35, 40 years old. And
Right.
and it's an easy thing to get into. You know what I mean? It's a fairly low entry. It doesn't cost a lot, and you can just kind of just do it. If you're committed, you can get there.
Well, and I think more so than any other sport is that in the Highland Games, there's always someone willing to teach you and there's always someone willing to help. And that can't be said of all sports, especially not strength sports. There's a lot where it's every man for themselves. And some
Yeah.
of my best girlfriends on the planet are my direct competition.
Right.
And you just can't say that for a lot of sports.
And athletics wise, it's a pretty forgiving sport as far as the environment, the culture. It's not wound up really tight like it might be at a senior track and field game or something, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that lends a lot to the crossing over and the blending of all of these other athletes coming together. It's a cool place to be able to come and not be, I don't know, bogged down by the technicalities, you know. Now it's a brutal sport on the body.
Yes.
You know, and I think that can be kind of a deterrent if the newbies aren't properly trained. Even then, I mean, properly trained or not, I mean, those accidents are going to come and they're going to happen.
Yeah.
I think the variety of events helps a lot too, right?
It does.
Because like
Yeah.
strongman, for example, you know, there's a variety of events, but for the most part, you're picking stuff up or you're pressing it or, you know, things like that. Here, you know, there's some athleticism. If you maybe are a little longer and leaner, you know, you might be a good hammer thrower. You might struggle with stones, but you can still
Right.
hang, you know what I mean? You don't have to be, and generally just the largest, strongest guy out there is not really necessarily going to be the best thrower or the guy that wins.
Actually, rarely. Actually,
Very rarely.
Yeah.
There's a blend. You see the bigger guys that I knew when that came into this sport, you know, cut weight and get smaller to go. And I think you're a really good example. I think Rob Clardy, you know, one of our buddies, is another really good example. You know, Rob really started focusing on leaning out and getting stronger, and when he got better when he did that. You know what I mean? A lot of us focused on losing weight. You know, whether we got there or not, I don't know. I still weigh about what I did when I started, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, it's not necessarily the advantage that you think.
So more of some of the fun things that you get involved with. Some of the competitions are more serious. But one of them, the things that you do that really fascinates me is there's a Ren fair that you guys get together and you go on and you put on a show.
Yeah.
Yep. It is the least serious, the most fun. It's all lightweights that you get to pretend are very, very heavy. It's just, yeah, it's a lot. The weekend before Thanksgiving every year.
Yeah. So Aaron Woods has been in it and run it for a long time down here in Houston. It's just outside Houston in what's the name of that little town? I don't know. Todd Mission, Texas. Yeah. North of Houston. It's a huge Ren Fest, Texas Renaissance Festival. It's a massive Ren Fest, runs for like 6 or 8 weeks, but one of the weekends is Highland Fling weekend, and it's all, you know, Scottish, and everybody's in kilts, and it's a really good time. And we put on a show 2 or 3 times a day, and you throw, you know, a lightweighter here and there. But the fun part really is we team up, and we have a little competition when, you know, somebody gets to be the good guy and somebody gets to be the bad guy. I'm honestly just better at being the bad guy, so I'm usually the bad guy, and we have a little fun, talk a little trash to each other, and play it up with the crowd. And the crowd really has a good time with it. It's a lot of fun. We do some one-handed caber stuff, and it's a lot of fun.
So how many years do you see yourself doing this? 5 years? Do you see yourselves being Mike Babb's age and running around and still competing? You know, what do you think?
Man, I don't really see a reason to stop. You know, I have cut back a lot on how many games I throw, and I'm kind of a little pickier about where I want to go. I get some.
How many games a year are you trying to get in?
I want to throw, for me, roughly 7 or 8. I want to throw about 1 a month for the 2 seasons we throw. So I try to pick a game in March, 1 in April, 1 in May, maybe 1 in June if I'm traveling. Take a couple months off, and then we usually throw Pleasanton, you know, Labor Day-ish, and then Estes right behind it, and then 1 in October and 1 in November, and I'm pretty done, man. I enjoy it. You know, we still go to some local ones and see friends around here, so I don't really see an end for me there because it's not super taxing. You know, I'm gonna try to stay in shape anyway, so you know, as long as I can be as long as I can be healthy and still have fun doing it, you know, competitive wise, I'm pretty competitive. I'm still pretty good. You know, I still can hold my own with most of these guys. So, you know, as long as I stay healthy, I feel like doing it. You know, I don't really see an end at a light at the end of the tunnel or anything. I like it.
Yeah. I think, you know, and it's one of those things you have to decide, like, we always joke, like, every newbie makes the mistake their first season of doing so many games that they just drive themselves straight into the ground. And either they learn their lesson and they scale back and they love it, or they burn themselves out, you know. And what you hope is that they learn their lesson and scale back a little bit. And I've seen it with lots of my athletes where they do 8 weekends in a row, and you're like, you can't, you
Right.
just can't. And that's the key in all things, right? Not only the games, but just health and fitness in general is longevity. That's got to be the goal, right? And so I think we've kind of reframed the way that we approach it, where, and even I was guilty of just signing up for like every game I could drive to within 4 hours, I was in, you know. And now we've sort of started to scale back to, we have, you know, like he said, travel games where we meet our friends at these games every year. The Pleasanton Estes turnaround is so exhausting, but it's also a blast. And we've somehow done it every year for years. And because they're these big, beautiful festivals, we'll go to games here locally that, you know, our friends are running, some of the big ones. I mean, obviously I don't throw up my own game because that's like a migraine waiting to happen. But I think, you know, for me, I will throw a little bit more frequently. I actually recently just took roughly like a year and a half off.
Yep.
Because I had thyroid surgery and just decided, instead of pushing myself, I'm going to give myself a break. And there was a while there where, you know, I wasn't recovering the way I wanted to. And I was like, well, maybe I'm just done in the games. Like, maybe I need to crochet. I don't know. I'll find something else to do with myself. But then taking the time off and like missing it and learning to miss it and coaching other people and running games gave me the opportunity to be like, oh no, I do want to do this, and I do want to come back stronger and just be really selective about the games that I do. And from one thing I can say is, if someone really wants longevity in the games, like, travel, go to games all over the country if you can, right? If you have the means to, because I now have girls that I am good friends with, but are also very good competition with me, that I will meet up all over the country. And so it's a fun, like, head to head, like, you got me here, but I'll get you here. And, you know, yes, you live in California, but are you going to be at this game? I can't wait to see you there. And so you create such a bigger network of throwing friends and games that you can get invited to or show up at. And so I think that helps increase how long you want to stay in the games too, is when you have this massive wide net of people.
The community we're in is amazing. You know, they say you're not going to have friends like you did the ones in high school, right? And then I don't know. I think I could challenge some of that. I think I've made some close friendships here that are right there on caliber with all that. There's some
agree.
special people out there. So.
And long-lasting friendships. I mean,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
If I could add to the travel, if anybody out there gets a chance to travel, go to other games for a whole other reason, right? The other reason is, when you throw in your local group all the time, it's the same people. You can get your dauber down. You know, you can get, you know, well, I can't beat this guy, or I can't get over this hump, or I'm really not good at sheaf, or whatever, right? Because you're throwing where you're at. And then you leave and you go somewhere else, and it's a whole different world. It's a whole different group of throwers. There's some good ones. There's some people out there that are just having a good time. There, you'll find people that are like, we joke all the time about sheaf in Texas. You know, if I go to a game in Texas and throw a 30-foot sheaf, I mean, I'm not guaranteed to win that event. That's a big number, but I'm not guaranteed to win that event. Matter of fact, that a lot of them, 30 feet ain't going to get you there. But if you throw 30 feet almost anywhere else, you're probably going to win, and win by a lot. Like, it's a different animal, right?
There are specialists in different regions of the country.
Yeah.
And that was a crazy wake-up call for me when I started traveling for games, was like 3 of the top 25 women in the country, all my friends, live in Texas. And so it's just a death match every single event in Texas in the open women's class. And then I'd go somewhere else and I'm like, okay, maybe I'm not as bad at this as I thought I was, or I felt like I was, because I'm just getting beat up every single weekend and in very specific events. Because in Texas, like you said, stones and sheaf are something else.
And you learn, right? Like when I'm as far as stones go, I'm one of the better stones throwers in the country. So around here, I do a lot of teaching with stones, right? I go to the West Coast and throw with those guys. There's 3 or 4 guys out there that throw the stones just as far as I do. So you get to learn, you get to talk to them about, hey, how are you doing here? What's going on with this? Like I said, I learned a ton of my weight for distance one turn was Brenton Brady, and the Millers when I went to Nashville to go throw a couple back-to-back weekends. So it's great competition. It's a ton of fun meeting people, and it's a way to learn and get out of your bubble and go see another place. And you see how games are different. You go to the East Coast and the South, and you might just throw in 7 events. They do things differently.
Colorado Decathlon.
Cabers are wildly different everywhere you go. That's the part of being a good caber turner is variety and learning like what they look like when you go somewhere else. When you go out to the West Coast, it's all telephone poles, brother. All of them. That's what you're gonna get. Because the only trees they got out there are palm trees and redwoods, and you ain't turning either one of them. But if you go across the South, you look at like Danny Webster's games or any of those, he's going out in the woods and he is cutting trees, and they are beautiful capers, but it's real sticks, man. Go get it. Some of them are nasty. So, but it's a ton of fun to go see, just go around the world and see what they throw, because it's all different. It's a great way to learn more about yourself and the games.
Couldn't have said that better, man. That's exactly it. I can't thank you guys enough for doing this with me. And you guys are just a wealth of knowledge and background, and I really want to thank you for all that you guys contribute to the community and Highland Games. Not just as athletes, but as training and putting on games and putting on entertainment. You guys are a great example for being out there and being a part of things, and I look forward to people getting a chance to get to know you this way.
Thanks, brother. And don't sell yourself short. That Highland Arts Academy is doing it. That's some of the festivals you put on in North Texas are some of the most complete, well-run vendors, games focused, central. Like we always want to make sure we go to North Texas and throw in your games.
Absolutely.
That, man.
They're on the schedule. Those dates are X'd out for our travel days. We don't
pencil in. All right. Cool. All right. You guys have a good night, man. Thank you again.
All right, brother. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
See you.
Bye.